Everyone's always furious. New Star Trek Actors Section 31 Tease shows exactly why Michelle Yeoh's movie is so exciting. Rob Kaczynski, who plays Zeph in Star Trek Section 31, teased what fans can expect from Michelle Yeoh's Star Trek streaming movie on Paramount+. Premiering on January 24th, Star Trek Section 31 is Yeoh's comeback as Emperor Philippa Georgiou from Star Trek Discovery, now drawn back into a new mission with Starfleet's Black Ops division. Section 31's team of super spies couldn't be more different from the noble USS Enterprise D crew in Star Trek The Next Generation. That makes Section 31 unique among Star Trek shows. Or does it? Rob Kaczynski's concerns about fans disliking Star Trek Section 31 are based on just how different Section 31 is from Star Trek The Next Generation, even though TNG was also not well received when it first aired. Being set a century later meant Star Trek The Next Generation had to be different from Star Trek, the original series, which was not what 1980s fans wanted from a new Star Trek. After TNG proved itself, Star Trek Deep Space Nine also drew criticism before it aired for being set on a space station. Now, DS9 is a gold standard Star Trek show. This cycle has been perpetuated with virtually every new Star Trek series. Rob Kaczynski's Not the Trek People Want tease actually makes Section 31 more exciting. Rob Kaczynski's concern that Star Trek Section 31 is not the Trek people want actually makes Section 31 more exciting because it signals that Star Trek Section 31 won't be afraid to take risks. Kaczynski says everyone's always furious that they're not getting more TNG, recognizing that Star Trek The Next Generation is great Trek, but the last time Star Trek stopped taking risks, the franchise fizzled out. Star Trek Section 31 already takes place in Star Trek's Lost Era, outside the United Federation of Planets, meaning it can fill in unexplored parts of the franchise. These days, Star Trek is no longer just the story of a single starship crew going boldly. Star Trek is a whole multiverse of stories united by a common philosophy of compassion, cooperation, and hope, now packaged in many different ways. DS9 proved that Star Trek could stay in one place. More recently, Star Trek Lower Decks proved Star Trek can be a comedy. Star Trek Section 31's darker tone and action movie sheen could be an excellent way to show how Star Trek can evolve to work in a dimly lit, hopeless corner of the galaxy, where it's needed most. Star Trek can't survive just by repeating The Next Generation. The Star Trek franchise can't survive just by repeating the formula that worked for Star Trek The Next Generation. There's something comforting about returning to the familiar aesthetic in Star Trek Lower Decks and revisiting characters who feel like friends in Star Trek Picard, but nostalgia can't be Star Trek's only selling point. New Star Trek shows need to diversify their storytelling to appeal to a wide cross-section of viewers and create new fans. Franchises only continue with new fans to keep them alive by watching and eventually creating new stories. Star Trek Section May 31st not be the Star Trek that most fans believe that they want right now, but that doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Discovery, and Star Trek Lower Decks were all Star Trek shows that fans were skeptical about at first, because these Star Trek shows weren't like what came before, but they found their audiences. There will always be room for Star Trek shows like TNG, but a movie with a different tone, like Star Trek Section 31, expands and improves the Star Trek universe. The Star Trek universe has always been about exploring strange new worlds and boldly going where no one has gone before. But with the upcoming Section 31 movie starring Michelle Yeoh, the franchise is venturing into murkier, darker territory, and fans couldn't be more thrilled. A recent tease by one of the film's new actors, who described the movie's tone as "everyone's always furious," hints at a gripping departure from Star Trek's typical optimism. This promises a thrilling exploration of moral ambiguity, political intrigue, and the ethically dubious decisions that have made Section 31 one of Star Trek's most compelling concepts. The rise of Section 31. Section 31 is Starfleet's secretive intelligence agency, operating in the shadows to protect the Federation at any cost. First introduced in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, the organization has been a source of fascination for fans, largely because it represents the antithesis of Star Trek's utopian ideals. Where Starfleet upholds principles of diplomacy and morality, Section 31 takes the ends justify the means approach, often engaging in covert operations that push ethical boundaries. Michelle Yeoh's character, Philippa Georgiou, is the perfect anchor for such a story. Originally introduced in Star Trek Discovery as the noble captain of the USS Shenzhou, Georgiou's arc took a wild turn when her mirror universe counterpart, a ruthless and cunning Terran emperor, became a central figure in the series. By the end of Discovery Season 3, Georgiou had undergone significant growth, making her a fascinating, morally complex character. This duality makes her an ideal lead for Section 31, a film that is likely to delve deep into the gray areas of Star Trek's moral landscape. Everyone's Always Furious, a glimpse into the tone. The tease about the film's intense, high-stakes atmosphere, where everyone's always furious, paints a vivid picture of a universe on the edge. In contrast to Star Trek's typical themes of unity and exploration, Section 31 seems poised to explore a side of the Federation where conflicts simmer just beneath the surface. This could manifest in several ways: political infighting within Starfleet, the moral dilemmas faced by operatives forced to make impossible choices, or the fallout from Section 31's actions as they clash with traditional Starfleet ideals. This tone is exciting because it brings something fresh to the franchise. Star Trek has always thrived on its versatility, seamlessly transitioning from cerebral science fiction to action-packed adventures and character-driven drama. With Section 31, it appears the franchise is leaning into a spy thriller aesthetic akin to Mission Impossible or The Bourne Identity, but with the added complexity of Star Trek's moral and philosophical questions. This could allow the film to explore themes like loyalty, betrayal, and the cost of protecting an idealistic society through decidedly unidealistic means. Michelle Yeoh, the perfect lead. Michelle Yeoh's presence is arguably the most exciting aspect of this project. Fresh off her historic Oscar win for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Yeoh is at the peak of her career, and her involvement guarantees a level of gravitas and charisma that few actors can match. Yeoh's ability to bring depth and humanity to even the most morally ambiguous characters makes her the perfect choice to lead Section 31. Whether she's navigating the political intrigue of the Federation or executing daring covert missions, Yeoh's Georgiou is sure to captivate audiences. Furthermore, Yeoh's return to the franchise signals Star Trek's commitment to exploring diverse and unconventional stories. As a character from the Mirror Universe, Georgiou represents a unique perspective within the Star Trek canon, one that challenges the Federation's ideals rather than embodying them. This adds an additional layer of tension and complexity to the story, as audiences grapple with whether to root for a character who doesn't always play by the rules. Expanding the Star Trek universe. The Section 31 movie also has the potential to expand the Star Trek universe in exciting ways. By focusing on a shadowy organization like Section 31, the film could introduce new factions, technologies, and characters that further enrich the lore of the franchise. It could also provide a fresh perspective on familiar elements of Star Trek, showing how the Federation's lofty ideals are maintained through the less-than-ideal actions of operatives like Georgiou. Moreover, the film's darker tone and focus on espionage could attract new audiences who may not have been drawn to Star Trek's traditional format. By blending the franchise's signature intellectual depth with the fast-paced thrills of a spy thriller, Section 31 could serve as a gateway for viewers unfamiliar with Star Trek while still satisfying longtime fans. A bold new direction. The tease that Everyone's Always Furious sets the stage for a film that is intense, provocative, and unlike anything Star Trek has done before. With Michelle Yeoh at